Okay, test-driven development screencast is back, friends. My name is Joe. We are about to start working on the friends section, which I deliberately named people before, which seems like to be a mistake. We are gonna discuss a little bit about it just in a moment. But before we start in general with this episode, I wanna say a few words about the incoming holidays. What I wanna say is that maybe I'll skip some of the weeks in publishing episodes, depending on how busy am I gonna be with my family. So that being said, we can kick off this episode and let's see how that's gonna go. Let's switch to the code. So as planned, we are gonna start working on the friends section. Now, the entire application is about friends. We are all the time talking about friends, and for some reason, I named this screen people screen and this package people. So why that happened was that because my general package of the application is nl job meet friends. Now I didn't want to have friends.friends package, but when I think about it, I don't see a reason why that would be a problem. So what I'm thinking of, maybe first, whether to rename that and keep friends, or get some more evidence from the work that we are gonna continue doing from now on, get more evidence that this wants to be named differently. We can go both directions, and in fact, let's maybe start with a test and then see how bad it might sound having this that way. So let's go ahead and start and see. So of course we are gonna start with a test. So here we would like to have, if we continue having the same naming, we are gonna have people package, and then inside we are gonna write our first test, which is gonna be people loading test. If you take a look at our timeline, we have load timeline test. So maybe instead here we want to name this load people test, so that we are gonna have this symmetry between the different packages. That's something that I want to keep, the symmetry, and I think it's a good practice. So let's see, maybe write our first test. What happens when I have no people found? So what happens when so the idea is that now I have this timeline and I'm gonna have the people section. When I'm signed up with a particular user, it has a user ID, so I want to get friends, get people for that particular ID. I mean, I can get all of them so that I can follow and unfollow, but passing this ID is important because I think part of the idea is that I should know which of those people I am following, so I want to have ability to follow and unfollow. So that's also something that that I'm thinking right now. So yeah, no, what happens when I don't have results back? So no people found. So I'm gonna have some sort of, let's say, people state. I don't know. Loaded. And then empty list. And that's gonna be my view model people state value. Let's import this. And if I take a look at my timeline, just again for the symmetry of the things, load timeline test, here what we have is No posts available. So maybe it would be better if I name this no people available. And then I have people state loaded empty list. Yeah, well, let's back that off. I think no people found is better because well, on the other side, it's not like I'm not searching for something so that it's not found. And again, I'm struggling here with a name, which is, you know, the naming is always hard. Let's say maybe no people existing, something like that, because I'm not searching. So in that sense, I'm not searching so that they are not found. What I'm trying to do is like I'm trying to get some people, and no people are existing right now. So the people state is gonna be loaded empty list, so that matches the name of the test. And then I have the view model people state value. People state is gonna be a live data that's gonna have value. It's gonna stay in a view model, and yeah, so I'm just gonna start modeling from here. Now again, thinking about the names, what if I had friends? So would it be friend state loaded or friend state? I'm thinking whether I should find a better name. What if I have people state and then friends? Well, maybe, yeah, that's weird. Friend state loaded. Loaded is okay, I think, but people state here, or whether it should be friend state. And then view model friend state value. Yeah, I do want to do this renaming basically because people might keep sounding weird to me. At least I can do the rename later, but then I'm gonna have more renaming. I don't know what to do now, whether I should continue with people rename everything later or start now this test with the renaming. Well, let's rename then everything later maybe. So let's create a class here. It's gonna be a sealed class, people state. Loaded, it's gonna be a extract to separate file, no, inside of people. Val now what's gonna be this? So I'll need a model which is different than the user. So I'm gonna have whether I should name these friends or not. Yeah. Let's make this data class. And then this is gonna be people state. Good. Now view model is gonna be a people view model. And the action is gonna be view model. Load people some ID. Well, not some ID, because I think it should be an ID from somebody. So I think maybe name it, I don't know, Sarah ID, something like that. Now what's my people view model? It's gonna be a class that I'll create here, and of course it should have a load people user ID. not implemented yet. In fact, let's delete this. And then the people state, create property people state, member property. People state is gonna be live data of a people state, which is gonna be equal to mutable people state, and this is gonna be a property that will be a mutable people state of a mutable live data from people state. Good. Now my test compiles, but there is one thing that does not compile, and that's this friend. So what's gonna be the friend? The friend will be a model that will hold the actual user data, like the ID of the user and blah blah blah, everything that we have in the user, but also an information whether it is a whether the ID that is sort of fetching the timeline, the ID of the user that is the user that is signed up in the application, whether is following that person or not. So in order to get that following thing, because I don't want to alter my user model right now, because the user has nothing to do with the actual following, it's different thing. Like the user does not represent the followings, it is not keeping inside. Maybe it wants to keep them inside, but for now I think I would rather keep them separate, because the in general I want to keep the things more split. If I have to combine them later, it's easier rather than splitting them later, if I put everything in that model. So let's come up with different model. So it's gonna be, let's create a class here. It's gonna be a data class friend. So it's gonna have a user, how do I name this? Is following, or maybe is followee. So I don't know if this word, let me check quickly if this word is in English correct. Okay, the internet is kind of slow for some reason. Is followee. So the friend is gonna have the actual user, and yeah, here I see that the definitions of followee, it is correct. So this word does. So I'm gonna save to dictionary, because this word does exist in the English language. So it's a person who is being tracked. So that's what I wanna do, because like this model should represent the user, and if I am tracking him or her, that's what I wanna know. Good. Now I think the test compiles. Let's run Let me see if I have the micro test. Let's run. And yeah, maybe I should have first used what I have, the users, and then get rid of the primitive obsession. But I know that I'll have to come up with different model. I can sense that I'll have to. But the problem is that especially with Kotlin, if I wait until I see the primitive obsession and then refactor later, it's gonna take me more effort and more time, so I don't want to do that. That's why I'm trying to at least do this modeling in front. And now we have the failing test, and it says, of course, we are expecting loaded with an empty list. We got back null. Let's fix that. How do we fix that? By actually saying here that the mutable people state value is going to be a loaded empty list, and that should make the test pass. And now we have different problem. It's really important now. It's really important to see the test failing for the right reason. Now, what's the problem here is that this looper is that we are trying to manipulate live data. So here we have to extend from the instant task executor extension, and now it should pass, and it does. So let's maybe check that in. Okay, I have to see what's going on. So here we have the test. Previously I have updated the JUnit version, as we can see the commits and here, and also the build Gradle plugin. So here what I'm gonna say is can load empty list of people regardless on the user ID. Or in fact, let's say people for any user ID. Yeah. Now let's maybe extract this a little bit. So the friend is gonna go into my domain user, in the production package. Cool. Next, I think the sealed class should go into my people state. I think yeah, into the main. Let's see, for example, for the timeline we have state, and that's inside. So here we have people state, that's fine. And then let's extract finally the view model from here. People view model is gonna stay in the friends people refactor. But let me see, maybe it's now in the tests. Yes, it stays in the tests, so I wanna move it into the production, and here we go. Now let's run the tests, make sure I should have run the tests after each and every extraction, but I think I do have confidence in the IDE, and I've done this like gazillion of times, so that's why I took deliberately the steps to do this all at once. Now let's see what we got here. We have our main Java null. Okay, we have in the domain user we have a friend, in the people we have state and the view model. That's in our production, and then in the test we have the actual test. That's what we want. Now let's commit this, extract production code from tests, and what we can do next is we can close this section, we can move the view model on the right, and we can keep the test on the left. Let's make sure everything's still working, and we can continue from here. So what happens now? What we are doing basically is the zombies. I think I'm gonna link a presentation where I'm talking about these things in this video, but also I'll just give a little description here what the zombies means. So whenever you are starting to work on something and you don't know, like test driving something and you don't know where to start, and especially if it's something that you are loading, like you're fetching some results, zombies is a good thing to keep in mind as to where to start. So zombies is an acronym, obviously. I think I spoke about this many times before as well. So we start with the 0 case, and this is what it is. Actually, basically we are checking against empty list, so that's the 0. Now what happens when we have 1? What happens when we have many? What happens when we have boundary? What about the interfaces? Exceptions? And then we want to make sure that for simple cases we have simple results. That's what the zombies stay for, so then we can continue in that manner. So also another acronym, or not acronym, but another way of doing this is like 01 many loads oops, which means again 01 many loads would be, for example, what if you want to have pagination. For now we are not thinking into pagination because that's something that I do have in my demon brain that we'll have to at some point introduce pagination, but that's not something that I want to think about right now. It's gonna be an easy refactoring later. Now a test, what happens when I have people single person, single person, or maybe loaded. So I'm gonna have people state loaded list of let's say Tom, and then view model people state value. My view model is gonna be a people view model. The action is gonna be view model. Come on, these composables are interfering here. Load people for, let's say, an ID. Sorry. And who's Tom? Tom is going to be a friend Um, and Tom ID. Yeah, Tom at email. Well, let me see. Actually, maybe I do have, I think, a user builder. So a user. Yeah, user with ID Tom ID, and then is followee is false, let's say. Let's watch this fail. It does fail. Now, how do I fix this? Without breaking what I had previously, I can say if user ID equals Anna ID, then I want to return mutable people state. Value is going to be people state loaded list of Tom, and then Tom's gonna be user. I don't have the builder in the production code, it's only accessible in my tests. So Tom ID, irrelevant email, irrelevant about, and then that's gonna be a friend, false. Is followee equals false. Let's run and watch it pass. It doesn't pass. Why? Because it says that it is still returning a empty, because I did not add an else here. So I have an if, but this line was being executed anyway. So I want to put that thing into an else. I can say if the new thing, do the new things, else do the old thing. Now it should work. Okay, what's different? This user at friends.com and about user is being added in the builder by default. That's why. So let me name this Tom friend is friend. Extract this outside and say the user is a user, Tom ID, nothing. So what I'm trying to do right now is just make that test pass. That's it. It does now. Let's check this in first and then think about what's happening, what I'm doing here. So can load a single user or hard-coded user ID. In fact, for hard-coded specific specific hard-coded user ID. Okay, good. Now, what happened was that I think the builder is set wrongly. I think normally the ways the builders should be working is that the values by default are gonna be empty or something. So this is maybe a mistake on my side that I had before. So now I can use the builder here, but again I have to set the email and the about. So I think it's easier to create just the instance instead of using the builder. Or on this side add some data here. Again, the thing is that this data that I'm having in the production code, I just want to push it up the call stack. So essentially it's gonna inline with what I have in the test afterwards. But for this moment of time, I'm thinking, what's the easiest thing? What's the easiest? Like I could like literally copy what I have in the test, paste in the production code just to make the test pass. That's the only thing that I want to do. Make the test pass, then think about refactoring. As of now, for example, I can start thinking about refactoring. Can I start refactoring? So how would this thing here evolve further? Can I foresee that or not? Well, no, because as we can see here, we are adding here an empty list. Here we are adding list of single person. Then what's gonna happen? How I could not foresee how this would evolve. For example, if I have multiple people as a result, and why they're gonna be multiple. So basically, there should be some relation between what comes in to what comes out. So I do want to write that first in the tests. Make sure that I have this, this behavior caught in the tests. Once I have that caught in the tests, then I can see how I can what I can do in terms of refactoring in the right side in the production code to see how my design will evolve. I know that, for example, I have some concept of following. In fact, let's open that, and here it is, and we are using this following for the timeline. So in the timeline, we are using this concept of following so that if a person A follows a person B, they can see the person B posts. So that's something that I can consider here. Keep in mind that I'm having here. So maybe, for example, if specific following is in place, I should do something, or maybe I should not. Maybe I should just, do the thing simple, like for a specific user, let's say the other user that's gonna come when I trigger this load people. Let's say now we have Sarah ID and Anna ID. What happens when I take Bob, for example? Then Bob just gonna have in reply list of, like, I don't know, many users, and that's about it. Let's start from there, maybe. So the thing is that I just want to keep the thing simple and then see how everything wants to evolve. I can keep in mind things that I have right now in the code, but what I'm saying is that maybe those things that I right now that I have in the code, maybe if I think too much about them, they are gonna interfere and they are gonna make me think into some concepts that are too difficult or too unnecessary. So just keep the thing simple, do duplication if I have to, and then see how I can resolve the duplication if I have to. So first do the duplication, it's fine. So I'm thinking whether we should continue writing another test. Well, let's maybe do that. Loaded multiple people assert equals people state loaded list of let's say Anna friend Anna, friend Sarah, and friend Tom. And that's gonna be my view model. People state value. That's my assertion. My view model is going to be my people view model. And the action is gonna be the view model. Come on. Load people. Let's say Lucy ID. So when I load people for Lucy, Lucy's gonna get back friend Anna, friend Sarah, friend Tom. And then let's now create those. Friend Anna is going to be a friend that has user with Anna ID. And then nothing else. And then let's say that it is a followee. That's Anna. Friend Sarah is going to be Sarah ID. Let's say false. And friend Tom ID, also false, let's say. So that's my given. I do the action, I do assertion. Now let's run. This should fail, and it does, because it gets back empty, because here we say only if it's Anna, otherwise empty. Now here what we can do, we can add another else if user ID is Lucy ID. We can take these three, literally copy paste them here, and then we can say that the mutable state value is going to be loaded, and a list of friend Anna, friend Sarah, friend Tom, like that. That should make the test pass, and it does. So now I think let's check this in. Can load multiple people as long as the user ID is Lucy ID. Nice. Now I'm watching at the hour. We are at the clock. We are some 40 minutes in. I think maybe it's a good time to stop this. But let's maybe reason a little bit. So what we are having here, we got the initial structure, we got some initial models, and I think we are in a good way. I did deliberate decision to come up with another business model that's gonna be a friend, which will contain the actual user and a value to tell me whether it is a following or not. I'm not sure how I feel about that concept, because as I said a little bit before, maybe I want to reuse that following thingy that I have for the timeline. But at least for now, for this moment, let's introduce this sort of that feels like a duplication of a business thingy. It's not code duplication, rather some business logic duplication, but let it be. I do want to introduce duplication in order to see whether I want to address that later or not. And of course we have these new other classes. I think we tried to make them symmetric with what we have before, both the tests and the production code, into also corresponding packages. Yeah, we have more or less, we know how this will evolve now here. What we want to do is we want to come up with some structure where we are gonna actually we do have a structure. We have the user catalog where we have users, so we want to make sure that now we can actually push this data up the call stack, see which collaborators they are gonna that team, that behavior will belong to. So you can start thinking about that, but we also have to take in consideration the negative scenario, the negative cases, what happens when we have, let's say, problems loading, like some errors. So maybe that's gonna be the good point to start in the next episode. Anyway, I think we are having a good start. We are also some 40 minutes in. Maybe, as I said, it is a good point to stop. And just one more time, I want to give that reminder that maybe in the following weeks I might skip a weekly episode because of the holidays and because of the free time that I'm gonna have during the holidays. So stay safe. Thank you so much for the time and attention. I'm gonna catch you in the next episode. Cheers.